sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters and the International Mandela Effect Conference, and you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light, and you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness, this is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, November 5th, 2020, and tonight we're going to talk about people that made deals with the devil himself. Last night we talked about curses. Tonight, the ultimate curse, selling your eternal soul to the devil. That is tonight, Thursday, November 5th, 2020, on the DarkWolf's Den Show, exclusively on Ripid Common Sense Radio. But first, today in history. That's right, on this day in 1492, Christopher Columbus first learns about growing and harvesting maize from Cuba's indigenous population. That's right. That is today's Today in History. Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple announcements to make. First, we have a couple shout-outs that have come in on the red button line, starting out with our buddy Big D.
My life, she's a queen once again. Congratulations to my life on the throne. It is not a king. It is not a fantastic fun king. It is a fantastic fun queen.
Thank you, Big D, and congratulations to My Life DIY on being the fantastic fun king queen 2 months in a row. She took the crown the other night for those who weren't here for AJ's Fantastic Fun Show, so congratulations once again to My Life DIY. I'm sure she's extremely grateful and thankful for that shout out. And as a matter of fact, speaking of being thankful, we were talking in the backstage lounge the other night about something to do for the month of November. And somebody, our friend Ash, came up with Never Nothing November. And it makes so much sense. I know you guys are scratching your heads. What do you mean, never nothing? That don't make any sense. Actually, it does. When you're asked, what are you thankful for? The answer is never nothing, right? It's never nothing. It's always something. You're always thankful for something. And that's what I want to know. I want to hear what you're thankful for. So what you need to do is go to the ripinrabbithole.com, RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Go down to the bottom of every page. You're going to find a big red button that says record. Select that button and give us a recording of what you're thankful for, and we will put them on the air. As a matter of fact, we have a couple to get this month kicked off right. That's right. So this is the first segment, ladies and gentlemen, of Never Nothing November. What are you thankful for? First up, we have Propagate This Light.
This is Propagate This Light. A few of the things that I'm thankful for is what I'm about to mention, one of which is having God love there that loves us all. I'm thankful for God. I'm definitely thankful for being on the intro to DarkWolf's Den Show. I'm definitely thankful that I have followers on my channel as well. And I'm thankful that you're even able to listen to me right now, and I'm even able to be here right now. Thank you.
And thank you, Propagate This Light. And we are very thankful for that shout out you sent to us in the very beginning. It fits that intro so amazingly, and we're proud to have that included in there. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have the fantastic fun queen herself, My Life DIY.
This is My Life DIY, and I am just so thankful for so much in my life, but revolving around this subject, this topic, I'm thankful to Moneybag 73, 76 for some of us. Without him, I would have never found the Rip and Rabbit Hole show, and without finding the Rip and Rabbit Hole show, I would have never found the VIP lounge. So thanks to Moneybags and AJ for the constant entertainment and knowledge and being able to make some real new friends.
Once again, that is My Life DIY, and I have to kind of parrot what she just said there. I'm also very thankful for Moneybags and AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and this network and the opportunities we've had on this network, because if not for Moneybags, none of us would have known this even existed. So I second that, my life. Also, on the list, we have the person who came up with Never Nothing November to begin with. Ladies and gentlemen, Ash.
Hi, my name is Ash. I am thankful for Art Bell Archives in Ripon Rabbit Hole because they have taught me to always find the light in things, and they have ensured me that I'm not going insane. And I love the paranormal, and they have taught me a lot about that. And it's really nice to find a place that I can relate to and find a actual family. So I am very thankful for everyone that Arthur Bell has inspired and everyone at Ripon Rabbit Hole.
And thank you, Ash. I must agree, I am very thankful for the opportunities I've got here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole and the ability to speak to you guys every week and really touch you guys in ways that I'll never even begin to understand. So I am thankful for that, and I really appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of this week's Never Nothing November. If you want to be a part of Never Nothing November, it's really easy. Just go to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a big red button at the bottom of every page. Hit that button, it'll automatically start recording. You can record a 30-second greeting to send to us here, telling us your name or even your internet name and what you're thankful for. And we will gladly get that on the air as part of next week's segment. We look forward to hearing from everybody and all the amazing recordings we're going to get this week. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, with that said, let's get this show started.
You're still out here doing these songs, you know, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with you know, with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
And that is, of course, a snippet from an interview on 60 Minutes with the great Bob Dylan. That's right, admitting that he made a deal with something long ago. He called it destiny, but long ago he made a deal to get where he was at the time of that interview, which was a pretty big spot. And ladies and gentlemen, would you make a deal with the devil for your eternal soul? If you could get everything you ever wanted, fame, fortune, the whole 9 yards, the knowledge of the world, would you give up your eternal soul for that? I know I wouldn't, right? If the devil showed up and offered me everything in the world that I could get, I don't think that I would do that. So we called the episode, Let's Make a Deal. Let's make a deal, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make a deal that we will never sell our eternal souls to the devil for fame, fortune, riches, or pretty much anything. Some of us may just want a comfortable life, right? I mean, some of us may just want to be bill-free and just to live comfortably. Some of us may want to live in a mansion, but would we give up everything in the next world just to have niceness in this world? Unfortunately, there are those that have decided to do just that, and these are the case files that we're going to hear tonight. And here to start us off this evening is, of course, the paranormal scholar once again to tell us about the first person in history to have ever been offered a deal by the devil himself. Ladies and gentlemen, the paranormal scholar.
According to scripture, Jesus himself was offered the greatest bargain of all by the devil when he fasted in the desert. The devil stated that he could give to Jesus all man's authority and splendor, proclaiming that it has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. If Jesus agreed to worship the devil, it would all be his. Jesus refused to be tempted and said no.
But Jesus, of course, wasn't your common man either. However, it has been claimed in case files that there have been those that haven't resisted the temptation of the deal with the devil.
Born Gerbert of Aurillac, Pope Sylvester II was a Renaissance man hundreds of years before the time, having been born in 946 and dying in 1003. He was a humanist scholar before there was even a term for it, being well read in classic literature and having been an early advocate for the use of the Hindu-Arabic numerals that we use today in a Europe that had no mathematical writing system.
So far, he definitely sounds like a well-read and well-accomplished person.
Amongst his many scholarly accomplishments, he is known for having reintroduced the abacus, an ancient calculating tool used before written numerals, to Europe, and is even noted for having constructed a hydraulic-powered brass organ which was hailed as having surpassed all previously built musical instruments. It was for this and other accomplishments that Gerbert was hailed as one of the preeminent scientists of his day. Alongside his fame as a scholar, however, was a belief that he was a sorcerer. It was whispered that he had acquired such occult knowledge during his time spent in the Iberian Islamic kingdom of Al-Andalus. In the 10th and 11th century, the kingdom of Al-Andalus was the most enlightened and prosperous kingdom in continental Europe, containing knowledge from across the vast contemporary Islamic world and of the ancient philosophers. To the Christian powers in the rest of Europe, this Arabic kingdom was not only an exotic place, but also a dangerous one.
And as we've learned across the Ghost and Demons episode, the Christians named a demon as anything they didn't like. So of course this city was a place they didn't like, therefore it was the devilish, bad, demonic city, you know.
Yet, even then, some Europeans, regardless of their religion, recognized Al-Andalus as the only place to acquire a true education. Such was this recognition that in the Christian monastery in Vic, Catalonia, there were many works imported from the enlightened kingdom. It was there that Gerbert acquired his first taste of Arabic culture. From here he would embark on his travels, journeying through the Muslim lands so as to gain the knowledge that would make him famous. Many tales of Gerbert's genius circulated during and after his lifetime. In the 12th century, the English monk historian William of Malmesbury wrote that during his time in Al-Andalus, Gerbert acquired a book of spells from an Arabic philosopher.
You always know the story is going to get interesting when a book of spells comes into play.
Contained within this book, it was said, was the knowledge to subdue the devil. According to Malmesbury, the philosopher refused to part with his beloved book. He would sleep with it under his pillow so as to protect it.
Most people nowadays sleep with a weapon under their pillow or their phone, but this guy had a book under his pillow. That had to be a really lumpy pillow.
Gerbert, however, was determined to possess this great tome, so he seduced the man's daughter and learned of its whereabouts. It was then just a simple matter of getting the philosopher drunk and stealing the book.
Why do I have the distinct feeling that this is not going to end well?
Yet the philosopher was cunning and had the knowledge to track all things on earth or water.
So you would think it should be no problem to track this guy back down and retrieve the book, right? Well...
Gerbert, however, was wiser still, and was able to trick the man and escape by hanging off a wooden bridge and thereby touching neither earth nor water.
I gotta say, that is a pretty slick move right there.
With the book now in his possession, it is said that Gerbert was able to contact demons and sell his soul to the devil. This is how, at least according to legend, Gerbert gained the papal throne.
Yeah, you heard that right. He was able to gain the papal throne, the position and office of pope, thanks to the devil himself. Check this story out.
According to the tale, there was a caveat to Gerbert's diabolical pact. Should he ever hear Mass in Jerusalem, then the devil would come to claim him.
What an interesting caveat. If he should ever hear Mass in Jerusalem, the devil would come and get his prize. Now, that's one weird caveat, but it gets even weirder.
With this knowledge, Gerbert, now Pope Sylvester II, was easily able to reject any offers of pilgrimage to the holy city of Jerusalem. With that potentially problematic scenario avoided, he was able to dedicate himself to the luxuries and indulgences afforded to him by his office.
Well, so far it sounds like he's outwitted the devil and found a way to work around this condition in the contract, right?
Yet, a man of Sylvester's wisdom should have known that a deal with the devil is never so simple to negotiate. One day, upon hearing Mass in a church in Rome that he learned too late was called the Holy Cross of Jerusalem, he knew that he was doomed, and soon after fell mortally ill. In another version of the legend, the devil came for Sylvester in person, accompanied by a horde of demons. The wayward Pope met a grisly end in front of the whole congregation, with Satan's minions given his gouged-out eyeballs to play with. In both variants of the legend, the devil's price was paid.
And that's the scary thing about making a deal with the devil, isn't it? Because you may forget as a human, but the devil's been around a long, long time. The devil don't forget. He will come to reclaim on his contract. That is guaranteed. And will you be ready to pay your end of the deal when it comes time for payment? And in this case, it didn't quite end when the Pope was killed. Actually, there's a little bit more to this story.
According to the law, to this day, Pope Sylvester's very bones are cursed and are said to rattle in his tomb whenever a pope is about to die.
And the ultimate curse, as we spoke about curses last night, the ultimate curse of selling your eternal soul to the devil himself.
In the 17th century, the Dutch were obsessed with speed. Their empire expanded across the world, with colonies on most major continents. One of their most lucrative colonies was in Batavia, modern-day Jakarta, which had a highly profitable trade in spices. At the time, spices were extremely valuable, being not only used for culinary purposes, but to disguise bad odors and to make medicine.
And as we know, the more exotic the spice, the more it was worth to the royals especially, because the spice trade, as we learned in school, at least I learned in school, was the major trade for many, many years, and that's why they went out sailing to begin with, was to try to find exotic spices that may have different medicinal uses and things like that other than what they had available at the time.
Thanks to the spice trade, the Dutch became a very wealthy empire. However, they were in intense competition with Portuguese and English merchants. Thus, if they could find the fastest routes and employ the most able captains, it would help secure their dominance of the spice trade. At the beginning of the century, a journey from the Netherlands to Indonesia would take around 1 year.
Remember, these weren't modern-day ships. These were pretty rickety things that didn't always make it. So being not the fastest of types of ships, they didn't really take a quick voyage, if you will. Even the shortest voyage took a long, long time. But there's one man that defied all odds.
Yet, in 1678, Captain Bernard Folk made that trip in just over 3 months.
He was able to somehow shave off 7 months from his trip.
At the time, there was no Suez Canal to cut through, so this meant that he had to have somehow sailed around a large part of Europe, along the entire length of Africa, and across the Indian Ocean in a cumbersome wooden ship in a meager amount of time.
Which is an incredibly long distance, especially in the types of ships that they had back then.
This was a speed that would only be beaten in more modern times. For the 17th century, this speed seems unbelievable. However, the sail time was verified by the dates stamped on the letters the captain delivered.
So not only did he accomplish it, he came back with proof that he had accomplished it.
After his feat, ominous stories started to circulate about the captain, describing him as a severe taskmaster who made serving under him a misery. Then there was an allegation of diabolical treachery. Folk had sold his soul to the devil to be the fastest sailor in the world.
Now, this is the really interesting part, because like I've mentioned a couple of times, it's because of the type of ship that it is. The wooden design and just the old school style is why it moved so slowly. However, according to the captain, that was actually fixed by the devil himself, and here's how.
It is said that in return for his soul, the devil turned the masts of his ship from wood to iron, and thus he was able to change sails during even the fiercest of storms, something which a wooden mast made very difficult.
As well as something that mankind would not start doing for quite a while still at this point.
Thus, with the devil's supposed help and his unyielding leadership, folk performed one of the fastest voyages of the age. In the centuries since, some have claimed that Folk was the inspiration for the legend of the infamous ghost ship, the Flying Dutchman.
Which is a curse that we didn't quite get to during this Spooktober season. But the Flying Dutchman, of course, you guys know, is a really famous ghost ship.
For it is said that this swift captain was later ensnared by the devil and made to sail the world's oceans forever under his command.
What an interesting punishment, to be forever set a sail with no hope of returning to the world of the living.
On the 29th of August 1677, Christoph Haseman was found on the floor convulsing violently whilst he was working in a small castle in Potterbrunn, Austria. The authorities took him in for questioning, initially believing him to be bewitched and that he himself was possibly a witch.
And I know a lot of you were saying, oh, it's just a medical condition, it was just a seizure. Maybe it was, but that's not the end of the story, that's just the beginning.
There was a reason for the authorities' paranoia. This was the age of witch hunts. In nearby Salzburg, such inquests were commonplace and would continue to be until 1690, claiming more than 100 lives in the process. Haseman was initially in very real danger.
Once again, your first thought, or at least my first thought, is he was having a seizure. It's a medical condition that's happened, right? Maybe not.
Yet, the story that he told the authorities quickly made them reassess the situation. He explained that he was not bewitched, but rather he had made a deal with the devil and was now demonically possessed.
This is straight out of this man's mouth, that he has made a deal with the devil himself.
Haseman explained that 9 years ago the devil appeared to him whilst he was an impoverished painter. The devil tempted him repeatedly, hounded him, offering him money, power, and women.
Of course, once again, our base wants, right? Fame, fortune, the whole 9 yards, to be well known and well loved and wanted by everyone, right? Well, maybe it's not quite so worth it, right? So at least he was able to deny the first round. He was able to say no to that part.
Until finally, he succumbed on the 9th temptation. The reason he finally agreed to strike a deal was because the devil promised to cure his depression, which he had suffered since the recent loss of his father.
And once again, they always look for that weakest point to use against us.
2 pacts were then supposedly signed between him and the devil, one in ink, the other in blood.
And there's something special about blood, isn't there? Signing a pact in blood just makes it that much more spiritually important as well as a physical importance, doesn't it?
Haseman pledged in those agreements that in return he would give himself, body and soul, to the devil in 9 years' time on the 24th of September. At the time of his arrest, this was only a few weeks away. When the local Catholic priest Leopold Braun heard Haseman's story, he took pity on him, describing him as a miserable man. The priest wrote to a nearby abbey and asked them to assist him. They, in due course, accepted Haseman, and the monks there started to perform severe exorcisms.
I love how it stated severe exorcisms. That means multiple.
Haseman was dutifully penitent and did everything they told him. Yet, at midnight on the 8th of September, he met the devil again. The monks attested that, whilst holding him in a state of agony, Haseman freed himself and ran to their chapel, only to return with a piece of paper some time later. Haseman claimed that the piece of paper was the contract written in blood many years ago. He said that he had snatched the accursed pact from the very claws of the devil, who appeared to him in the form of a winged dragon.
And yes, I will also admit this story is getting incredibly wild, but we do know that the form of the dragon is mentioned in the Bible as a form that Satan does like to take.
The monastery popularized his case as a miracle. However, it was not to last, for by the 11th of October, Haseman's convulsions were back. Not only that, they were worse than ever, sometimes leaving him entirely paralyzed.
I'm still sticking with my conviction that this is probably a medical condition, at least to some degree.
During these episodes, he later testified to being tormented not only by the devil, but by the Virgin Mary and Christ. The devil with his customary temptations, and Christ and Mary demanding he renounce worldly possessions and become a man of God.
That would drive me absolutely insane, whether it was real or happening in my head. Either way, to have the devil, Jesus, and Mary, all three yelling at me at the same time, I think I'd probably lose my mind either way at that point anyway.
Again, Haseman underwent exorcisms, and this time received the pact he had made in ink from the devil. After this, he joined a monastery and became a monk. There, he completed several paintings of the devil in his different incarnations, including an especially grand piece in which he painted the Virgin Mary helping him to retrieve the pact in ink from the devil.
And this art can be found to this day.
The torments, however, never stopped. They would plague Haseman for the rest of his life until he died in the year 1700, peaceful and of good comfort.
Well, at least this one did have a happy ending, at least to some degree.
General Jonathan Moulton was a famous soldier of colonial America. As a reward for his service to our country in the American Revolution, he was granted a vast amount of land in New Hampshire. He was suspected by the townspeople of selling his soul to the devil. In exchange, Lucifer was said to visit Moulton's mansion on the 1st of every month to fill the general's boots with gold coins.
And of course, I know every one of us would love to have a boot full of gold coins every day, right?
According to the legend, Moulton devised a scheme to sweeten the deal. He removed the soles of his boots and cut a hole in the floor above his basement. Over the hole, he nailed his soulless boots into place.
I gotta say, this is a pretty slick setup so far.
When the Infernal One returned to keep his side of the bargain, he poured gold into the shoes until the basement was full.
So at this point you're thinking, wow, he got over on the devil. He got him good that time. Well, it's not over yet.
Upon discovering the general's deceit, he took back all the coins and burned the mansion to the ground.
Man, he really thought he had won that time, didn't he? You gotta be pretty smart to outwit the devil, although in the second half we will hear a couple stories where humans were just a little bit smarter than the devil. And we have one more historical case file before we get to the break.
Oliver Cromwell, the ruthless Lord Protector of England, led a military effort to overthrow the king, and his success was attributed to a deal with the devil. After he captured the Irish town of Drogheda, he ordered his troops to slay thousands of soldiers, which had already surrendered, as well as all the men in the civilian population, including Roman Catholic priests. Cromwell passed away on September 3rd, 1658. That night, a massive storm swept across the land, later dubbed Oliver's Wind, which was said to be a sign of Satan coming to claim Cromwell's soul. The trees that fell that night in Brampton Bryan Park were allegedly toppled by the devil as he dragged the English politician to the underworld.
And once again, the devil always makes sure to come back and try to collect his prize. And we will speak more about that in the second half of the show, as well as how the deals with the devil actually influenced a large variety of music, and what does the crossroads mean, and why is it so important to this topic at all, as well as a couple stories of the humans outwitting the devil. All that and more coming up in the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show, right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Sex in the city? Nope. Interview with a vampire? Nope. If you build it, they will come? Febreze? Tweeze in the middle? Wrong again. Depends. Nope. Welcome to the Twilight Zone, my friends. A phenomenon known as the Mandela effect. You may have heard of it. You may want to not neglect. Unbecoming, awake, and spiritually inclined. So sit back, relax, while I blow your mind. Take the thumb off the cell, stop following the sheep. Down the rabbit hole we go. Are you ready for that leap? The Zapruder film, #JFK. I looked at the footage and I said, what the hey? How come there are 6 people in that dang car? Stretch limo, for me, this was all too bizarre. A glass behind the driver, no way, Jose. I remember in the car, my mind was in total disarray. Trying to make sense of what I was seeing, what I was witnessing. Didn't connect with my inner being. A second woman in the car for me was only the first lady. Do you smell what the rock is cooking? All this seemed kinda shady. Berenstein Bears. Nope. Shazam? Sinbad? Not in this reality. Good lord. An awakening. Was it all a revelation? The naysayers and skeptics call it confabulation. They say we misremembered and call us bat crazy. Did you smoke a doobie? Maybe that's why it's a little bit hazy. Unless you experience it, you'll never know. But enough of that. On with this Mandela effect flow. Mandela effect in the house. What in the world happened to Ed McMahon? In this reality, Publishers Clearinghouse was not a fan. Never the spokesperson, but we remember it clear as day. McMahon holding that check while the winner yelled out, yay! American Family Publishers, never heard of them until now. This Mandela effect has me raising the people's eyebrow. So many theories on what it could be. Have you ever heard of CERN and the LHC? Luke, I am your father. Nope. Sally Fields? Nope, wrong again. That stands for the Large Hadron Collider. I thought I would mention. You know, the machine that opens up portals into different dimensions? You're probably thinking that this is all science fiction, but you gotta think outside the box and have no restrictions. Alternate realities and parallel dimensions. Okay, I get some of your apprehensions. Could this all be a spiritual evolution? Cause the human race has grown tired of this toxic pollution. Mandela effect in the house. No, I'm not going crazy. Some people, they just don't understand. That's just the way it is. You know? Stay strong, my friends. That's just the way it is. Dolly has no braces? Are you serious? Good lord. Joel Osteen. Oh wait, Joel Osteen. So what the heck happened to the owl? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is definitely the Twilight Zone. This is crazy. Anyhow.
Hi guys, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit coming back to you from the Rippin' Rabbit Hole studios once again on the cheap laptop setup. I am sad to report to you that we have suffered a hardware malfunction. We are going to have to replace the piece that has suffered, and it's going to drastically affect the way that we do the live shows this weekend. I apologize for this, and of course, this is not how I intend to be coming to you, and hopefully tomorrow night our solution will be a little bit better. We will be live on air tomorrow night, Friday, November 6th. Starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. I do apologize. Unfortunately, the studio is down, and those are some of the technical difficulties and the challenges that we have to deal with here with live radio. So I return you back now to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
Thank you, AJ. That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us tonight, we are talking about people that made a deal with the devil himself. That's right. And of course, in the opening, we heard Bob Dylan's confession of sorts. And we know that music is a genre that has been touched by these deals with the devil for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, here is the earliest case file that I could find about a musician who is claimed to have made a deal with the devil.
The myth first made its way into music thanks to Giuseppe Tartini. In 1713, the devil appeared to Tartini in a dream, and Tartini made a pact for his soul.
What's really scary about this is that it happened in a dream and apparently still stands for the real world.
In the dream, he gave the devil a violin, and the devil performed the most beautiful sonata he had ever heard. Immediately upon waking up, Tartini tried to write down what he heard and created the Violin Sonata in G, better known as the Devil's Trill Sonata,
which is even today known as an extremely hard piece to play.
Despite the success of this piece, Tartini wrote that his effort was so inferior to what I had heard that if I could have subsisted on other means, I would have broken my violin and abandoned music forever.
And whatever he experienced, it definitely seemed to have humbled him a lot, to the point that he said he would have broken his violin and given up music if he knew another way to feed himself.
It would seem that the devil's interest in violin didn't wane, as rumors of another violinist cohorting with the devil came about a century later.
And this is probably one of the most popular case files when it comes to music and musicians making a deal with the devil himself.
Niccolò Paganini is considered by some to be the greatest violin virtuoso ever to have lived. He started music at the age of 5 on the mandolin, was composing by the age of 7, and performing live at 12.
So he was definitely a savant, and extremely talented one at that.
And he was such a virtuoso that the public began to surmise that his talents must have come from dark dealings. On top of his skills, Paganini had a pale, lanky look with long fingers and flaming eyes.
Of course, having a look like that doesn't help when you've been accused of making a deal with the devil.
The legends of his performances are something else to behold. Some reports say audiences made the sign of the cross as they watched him perform to protect themselves from evil.
I'm not sure if that's a good review of the performance or not.
Other stories have him continuing to play flawless notes on broken strings.
I gotta admit, to play flawless note on broken strings is pretty astonishing.
And contorting his body into weird shapes while performing.
That must be pretty challenging. I know I have tried to play musical instruments, and at least for me, it takes a lot of concentration to even play, let alone move my body around.
One fan even left a Vienna concert claiming he had seen the devil aiding Paganini. At the age of 54, Paganini died, and one of the last things he did before he died was send away a priest who had come to perform last rites. This cemented his association with the devil in many people's minds.
With that piece of information in mind, it does make one wonder if he did actually make a deal with the devil himself. But of course, nothing is more popular when it comes to making a deal with the devil than blues music. That's right.
Robert Johnson was an American blues singer-songwriter and musician. It was for his guitar-playing ability for which he is most remembered, and is still considered to be amongst the greatest guitarists of all time.
However, his story has some weird twists and turns to it.
Strangely, playing the guitar was not a skill which he was ever known for as a child. The story goes that although he played it avidly in high school, he was not reported as having any real talent for it. However, at the age of 18, Johnson displayed a mastery of guitar that seemed to come from nowhere. His rapid knowledge of the instrument was inexplicable. He played it with such intimate finesse that the only explanation for it was devilry.
Perhaps something besides lots of practice happened in those few years.
According to legend, as a young man living on a plantation in rural Mississippi, Johnson greatly desired to become a great blues musician. This desire was so great, he took his guitar to a nearby crossroads.
And this isn't the only time you're going to hear about the crossroads this evening.
There he was met by the devil, who took his guitar and retuned it. Upon handing it back, Johnson was given mastery of the instrument for the small price of his soul.
Just a small price to pay, just your soul.
In the years that followed, Johnson became an itinerant musician, moving from place to place, playing his guitar for tips on street corners. He later went on to record several songs. Some say that allusions to Johnson's diabolical pact can be found in several of his own songs, including Crossroad Blues and Me and the Devil.
It's like he couldn't help but telling what had happened without coming out and saying it, so he named his songs in such a way that would give away the plot, if you will.
Somewhat ominously, Johnson died under mysterious circumstances in 1938 at the young age of 27. One theory suggests that he was poisoned by the jealous husband of a woman he was flirting with. Another theorizes that he died of syphilis. Ultimately, no one knows. Not only that, Johnson's gravesite is a mystery, with at least 3 different locations having been marked out as possible sites. With Johnson's music now enshrined in the Blues Hall of Fame, one can only wonder if the devil came and collected his fee as agreed.
But Robert Johnson wasn't the first blues singer to have met the devil at the crossroads. As a matter of fact, before that, there was a man named Tommy Johnson.
One of the most prominent blues musicians of the early 20th century was Tommy Johnson. He was part of a musical movement known as the Delta Blues, so called for originating in the region of the Mississippi Delta of the United States. This movement was also known by another name, the Devil's Blues, for many believed that the music and its artists were closely associated with the devil. Some had even come to believe that artists, like the unrelated blues musician Robert Johnson, had to have sold their souls in order to gain such mastery over the guitars which made them famous. Whilst many claim that it was Robert Johnson who began the legend of selling one's soul to the devil to play the blues, one of his biographers, Tom Graves, stated in 2008 that this story actually originated with Tommy Johnson and was later ascribed to Robert.
So whether the story actually happened to Robert or Tommy, though I believe Tommy came first and then Robert, but at either degree, here is more details on this story.
And Tommy was indeed a perfect candidate for such a damnable pact. He was a troubled soul and a chronic alcoholic.
And as we learn in the Demons episode, they always go after the weaker of the pack, and he was definitely in a weakened state.
He had, however, been somewhat commercially successful during his lifetime, with hits like Canned Heat Blues, a song about drinking methanol from the cooking fuel sterno. His live performances were said to be legendary, inspiring the flamboyant antics of later rock and roll artists. He was known to play the guitar behind his neck, in between his legs, and in mid-air.
Which is one heck of a feat. I'm not a musician and I can't play very well, but when I did try, I can tell you it took everything I had to play it regularly, let alone holding it in the air.
Aside from his guitar, Tommy's voice was unique and incredibly difficult for anyone to imitate, for he was able to express a wide range of vocal tones effortlessly. People at the time started to believe that such great ability must have come from the devil himself. This idea became all the more popular when Tommy himself began to confirm the claim.
Now, it makes it really hard to argue when the person themselves confirms the claim, but here's what Tommy had to say.
Sometime after Tommy's death in 1966, his brother Ledell Johnson stated in an interview with Tommy's biographer, David Evans, that Tommy had in fact told him about his pact with Satan personally. Not only that, Tommy has supposedly described how anyone could sell their soul to the devil.
I must interject right here and say once again that I do not condone the idea of selling one's soul to the devil. I know I don't think I should have to say that, but you never know. So yeah, I do not condone such a thing. But with that said, you guys remember a moment ago we heard about the crossroads. Well, here's a little bit more information on the crossroads.
Now, if Tommy was living, he'd tell you. He said the reason he knew so much was because he sold himself to the devil. I asked him how. He said, if you want to learn how to play anything, you want to play and learn how to make songs yourself, you take your guitar and you go to where a road crosses that way, where a crossroads is. Get there. Be sure to get there just a little before 12 that night, so you'll know you'll be there. You have your guitar and be playing a piece there by yourself. A big black man will walk up there and take your guitar and he'll tune it, and then he'll play a piece and hand it back to you. That's the way I learned to play anything I want.
Now that is an interesting story. I don't think I'll be finding a crossroads to be standing at anytime soon at midnight, but that is very intriguing just the same.
Ledell Johnson had been a blues musician himself, occasionally performing alongside his brother. In his older years, something about the music and his lifestyle made him turn to the church and become a man of God, believing, like many in the area, that blues was the work of the devil. Whilst Tommy only left behind a small number of recorded works, they are considered masterpieces, with the vinyl records he released at the time now considered precious treasures. In 2013, one of his original singles sold on eBay for over $37,000, making it the most expensive 78 RPM record ever sold at the time. It would seem that at least in the case of Tommy Johnson, the devil certainly held up his end of the bargain.
It would seem that way indeed, and that is an incredible price to pay for an album, isn't it? That's somebody with more money than they got sense, right? But, you know, there are a couple more stories I would like to get to tonight. They're kind of honorable mentions, if you will. These are a couple, at least these couple first stories are stories where humans kind of got over on the devil. They came to make a deal and then was able to renege in such a way that the devil was not able to get them back. So these are some really intriguing stories and kind of funny. Actually, you guys might quite enjoy these, so check this out.
In the 10th century, the religious fate of England was safeguarded by Dunstan, a pious and charitable clergyman who held many important ecclesiastical positions throughout his life. According to legend, Dunstan encountered the devil numerous times. The most famous of these encounters occurred whilst he was living as a hermit in a cell at Glastonbury. A talented metalsmith as he was, Dunstan occasionally accepted commissions. One such commission came from an old man who appeared at his window, asking if Dunstan would make a chalice for him. Agreeing, Dunstan began working on the piece. However, when he looked up from his work, he noticed that his visitor had changed. One moment he was an old man, the next a young boy, and then a woman.
Either there was a bunch of Mandela effect shifts going on there at the exact same time, or there's something else happening.
It was then that Dunstan realized his visitor was the devil. Concealing his distress, Dunstan continued to craft the chalice.
What happens next, I gotta say, I find kinda hilarious.
He picked up his blacksmith's tongues and moved them to the fire. Once they were red hot, he pulled them from the flames, turned on his heel, and seized the devil by the nose with the tongs. Despite the struggling and screams of the devil, Dunstan calmly cast the beast from his cell.
I really hope that that was the devil. Otherwise, some woman just had a really bad day, as well as getting the worst nose job in history.
On another occasion, Dunstan was sat in his cell playing his harp. As the saint sang his melodious tune, a tramping vagrant approached. This was the devil, once again intent on deceiving the holy man.
And if you remember in a previous story, the devil kept coming back to that one guy until he finally gave in. In this case, he also continues to come back, but there will be a price to pay this time, for one of our characters anyway.
However, Dunstan was a man of cunning. He once again seized the devil, this time grabbing his diabolical hoof. The saint proceeded to shoe the beast, furiously nailing a metal horseshoe into the devil's hoof. The devil pleaded and cried in pain as Dunstan hammered nail after long nail into him. When he was done, Dunstan only agreed to remove the shoe and free the devil after he promised he would never pass through a door over which a horseshoe hangs. From then on, the hanging of a horseshoe outside one's home has been associated with good luck and protection. Over your threshold on your mast, be sure the horseshoe is well nailed fast.
So if you've ever seen a horseshoe nailed above a door and wonder why people practice that, that is actually where that ancient practice comes from, is keeping the devil out of your house.
Almost every country possesses a legend of a devil's bridge.
And our next case file tonight comes out of Austria, out of Tyrol, Austria to be exact. And I actually have a direct connection to Tyrol, Austria, as it is a sister city to where I live. As a matter of fact, the regular job that I have is actually very much connected to the Tyrol area of Austria. So this is going to be an interesting case file for me because, like I said, I have a personal connection to this area, although I have never personally visited it.
In this respect, the Tyrol region of Austria is no different. Legend reports that, one day, a village in the valley of Montafon had their bridge swept away by an overwhelming torrent. The villagers were justifiably concerned, for they depended upon that passage to pass to and from Schroons on the other side of the river, from where they traded and purchased their supplies. Banding together, the villagers applied to the local carpenter, offering him a large sum of money if he would rebuild the vital bridge in 3 days' time. The carpenter was in disbelief. The money being offered would make his large family rich. However, he saw that completing such a great amount of work in just 3 days was an impossibility.
That's an incredible feat by any means.
Before making a decision, he begged the villagers for 1 day of reflection. All that day, up till midnight, the carpenter studied and pondered, frantically searching for a way to rebuild the bridge in the specified time. Angry and annoyed, he could find no solution. Just when he was about to give bed, a little man wearing a green hat entered the room.
Okay, I have two questions here. Number one, where did the little man in the green hat come from? Just out of nowhere, just entering the guy's room. Isn't that trespassing or breaking and entering at the least? Put that aside. I would really be a little wary if something just at the right moment like that happens. But don't synchronicities happen like that to us all the time, though? Maybe he wouldn't question something like that, right?
The strange man claimed that he could help the carpenter complete the task in the 3 days. He did, however, have one condition. Once the bridge was finished, the first soul out of the carpenter's house to pass over the bridge would belong to him.
It looks like the cost for this job just went through the roof.
It was then that the carpenter realized the strange man was the devil.
What would you do? You're offered this chance. You've got a chance to make all this money, and you've got to do an impossible task in 3 days, and now you've been handed the keys of the ability to accomplish this task. You just have to give up the first soul that crosses the bridge out of your own home. Would you take this deal? Would you sign the contract in blood? Or would you turn around and walk away and say no thank you, and possibly end up giving the money back to the village because you know you can't do this job in 3 days by yourself? What would you do? Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that.
However, so enticed by the large sum of money was he, the carpenter agreed to the devil's terms, believing that, when the time came, he could cheat the devil.
As we have already learned, cheating the devil isn't exactly the easiest or the smartest thing to do, but it can be done. And this story, I gotta say, is one of the most creative ways. I don't want to give it away. Check this out, guys.
3 days after the bridge was complete, the devil stood in the middle, awaiting his prey. After having remained there for many days, the carpenter at last appeared. Sensing his payment was close at hand, the devil jumped with joy.
Here it comes. It's time to pay the piper, if you will. So what will he do? What will the carpenter do? Will he give himself up, or does he do something else?
However, the carpenter was driving one of his goats as he approached the bridge, and he pushed her on before him and called out, "There, you have the first soul out of my house."
I mean, the devil never specified the soul had to be a human soul. It just said the first soul out of the house. And it's interesting because it doesn't bring into question the animal having a soul here, because the devil clearly knows it does at this point, because he knows he's been tricked and he has no way but to take this end of the contract, because it's, something he would do. He spoiled the contract by fulfilling it.
In a fit of rage at having been so deceived and humiliated, the devil seized the goat by the tail and dragged her across the bridge. So hard did the devil handle the creature that her tail came out. Laughed at and mocked by all who saw him with the goat, the devil took off. It is said that since the day the carpenter outsmarted the devil, all goats have had short tails.
It looks like sometimes you can make a deal with the devil and get away with it, but that is a very rare case. But what would you guys do? What do you guys think? Would you make a deal with the devil? Come on, let's make a deal. Fame, fortune, riches, money, power, women, men, whatever the case may be. Whatever you want, it's all yours for your eternal soul, right? I would not in the world give up my eternal soul just in case that really is an issue. But what do you guys think? Would you make a deal with the devil if the devil walked up to you? Or if you were a musician, would you go to the crossroads and make a deal with the devil? If the devil come up to you and offered you everything you had ever dreamed of, would you make a deal with the devil? Or would you use a little bit of common sense and turn away? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, especially in this case, you'll be the judge. we got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, November 5th, 2020. We appreciate every last one of you guys being here, whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat. We're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. Stay tuned tomorrow night for AJ the Rippin' Rabbit and the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. Tomorrow night he has a special announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for a special announcement from the Rippin' Rabbit Hole from AJ the Rippin' Rabbit on Friday night. Then on Saturday night, he will be talking about mysterious signals. That's right, a lot of fast radio bursts and mysterious signals been coming in to our planet. What do they mean, and what are they at all? And then on Sunday, he'll be talking about delusions. Maybe all those mysterious signals are just delusions, right? He'll be talking about delusions on Sunday, whether you deal with delusions or you know somebody who does. This is the episode for you, and that will round out the weekend here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. And you guys know that the party does not end that easily. That's right. There's always the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That is my favorite hangout. That's where I'll be right after the show. If you want to come hang out with me, it is absolutely free. All you got to do is click on the 24/7 Backstage Lounge, scroll about halfway down that page to the VIP, select that. It'll ask you for your camera and microphone to be okayed. After that, you can turn those off when you get in there if you'd like, and use just the text chat. We'd love to have you over there where the conversation continues, because for you guys, the conversation's in here, but for the Rippin' Rabbits, the conversation has only begun. Also, remember, guys, Never Nothing November. That's right. We want to hear from you. What are you thankful for? The answer is never nothing. It's always something, and we want to know what that something is. So send us a 30-second shout out by going to the bottom of every page at the RippinRabbitHole.com, hitting that big red record button, and sending us 30 seconds of audio here in the studio, and we will get it in our segment on the radio. Just say your name and you are thankful for, and that's it. We'll gladly get that in our new segment for November only. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me tonight. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and on behalf of Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walter House, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, and everybody at Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, we thank you for being here. And remember always, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah! The weekend has started!
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is green, she's a sneaky What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonder.